countries.
But as percentages go, were more men coming over the years?
There's been a
history?
really interesting shift. In the 19th century, there were probably 2 migrant men for every migrant woman. And then beginning around 1920, that shifted. And women became half of all migrants, and they continue to be half of all migrants to today. And scholars, including myself, are still trying to figure out why that shift happened. It's related to the labor market. What kind of labor was demanded in the United States in the 19th century? Many of the jobs and the demands of building industries and railroads and construction, those were male jobs. Today, of course, the expansion of service work, the expansion of helping professions have created large numbers of working opportunities for women. Again, whether they come independently or whether they come with families. But women today are 50%, and in some years a little bit more than 50% of all immigrants entering the United States.
So Diane, I
was just going to add to that, and historically, if you look at different ethnic groups, I just want to add, Eastern Europeans, for example, when they came over, you would find that during the 1800s, the men would come. Sometimes they'd go back and forth. The men would come. And then later on, the women would join them. But Irish women, during the potato famine, they were hungry. They had nothing to eat. Women would come.
On their own.
On their own. And they would come and they would do domestic work, and eventually they'd stay and their children would become teachers, for example. Jewish women, Jews came as families, and that was also unusual, I think. So it differed by different ethnic groups if you looked at it historically. Today we're finding, I think because we have so many restrictions, although you're saying it's half and half, but still, if we look at it by entrepreneurs and some of the research we've done, we're seeing a little bit more men than women, actually, or at least when we're dealing with entrepreneurs.
One of the theories for the so-called feminization of migration, that shift from 1/3 or 40% women to 50% women, has to do with restrictive immigration laws and the privileging of family unification as a way of getting a visa. And women are more likely to take advantage of visas for family unification than are men. It's also a fact, Diane, and I think you're pointing to this, most of the professions today that are singled out for work visas are male professions rather than female ones. And that has an impact on the ratio of men to women from group to group. So you'll find fewer women among Mexican migrants, for example, and among South Asian migrants, and more women among Latin Americans and Europeans.